Hello, my name is Lillian Fairley. I am 54 years old and I reside in Orlando, Florida. This is my story. Looking at me, you can see that I am a black woman. Short, petite. You may not be able to tell that I'm a mother, a single mother, but if you see me with my son, you'll see that also. But I also have ADHD, and that's something that you can't look at me and just see and tell. And contrary to popular belief, yes, black people do have ADHD. Black boys, black girls, black men, black women. Yes, we can have ADHD. And it's just as crippling for us, if not more, than for others. Because we already have a stereotypical belief that black people are lazy. They just need to work harder, try harder, looking for an excuse or the easy way out. Some even believe that we're just stupid or less than. We'll never be doctors and lawyers and any of those kinds of positions because we're not smart enough. Well, I'm here to tell you that we are smart enough. And having ADHD has nothing to do with our intelligence. It has to do with how our brains are wired. There is a deficiency in the neurotransmitters of dopamine and norepinephrine. So it's how our brains function, how they process, which causes a serious delay or deficiency in our executive function skills, which are the skills that we need to regulate and operate in everyday life, doing everyday tasks that most people take for granted. Things like being able to focus and pay attention so you can plan and organize and prioritize a project, to follow steps and create steps 1 through 5 or whatever to get from A to Z in that project. We are not able to do that. We struggle with that every day. There are 5 common symptoms in ADHD. Short attention span, distractibility, organization, time management, impulse control. Those are all the things that I struggle with on a daily basis, whether at home, at work, with my son as a mother, out with my friends, talking on the phone. Because ADHD affects every aspect of my life. And I did not come to any of this realization until one afternoon when I was sitting at the table preparing for yet another 504 meeting with my son's high school, 9th grade. And I was going through all the list of comments that they mentioned, and I went online and Googled the signs and symptoms of ADHD and printed them out because my son has been diagnosed since 1st grade. I highlighted all of their comments and then highlighted the signs and symptoms that matched up exactly with their comments. And I took all of that to our 504 meeting and gave each teacher a copy along with the counselors and admin staff that were there, so they could see what ADHD looked like in their class, because clearly they had no idea. They seem to all think that ADHD is just a kid that's bouncing off the walls, failing every grade, not listening, being defiant. my son was none of those things. And that's because his teachers and most people don't understand that there's more than just one type of ADHD. There's actually 7. Classic, inattentive, overfocused, temporal lobe, limbic, ring of fire, and anxious. I had to figure out which types my son had so I could get the proper treatment for him. Because they're not all the same and they cannot be all treated the same. They only share those 5 common symptoms. All the other symptoms within each category is different. And the symptoms show up differently from males than females. They show up differently from young childhood to middle school to high school and even to college. You'll see different symptoms. And some symptoms that may decrease. But it's all part of our ADHD. ADHD doesn't go away. But we can manage some of those symptoms. I had never heard of ADHD until I had my son. But I had heard hurtful comments throughout my life, like, "You're not thinking." Oh, what made you say that? Did you even think of that? Doesn't even make sense. Did you even think about what you said? What's wrong with you? I need you to focus. Pay attention. Listen to what I said. I just told you that 5 minutes ago. How did you forget? Because then I didn't know I had ADHD. I just knew something was off. And I began to believe that maybe I was stupid or slow. Because I couldn't understand why I couldn't just get it together. So I went and got tested. It took me till my son got into 9th grade for me to realize that I had ADHD. It's not a personality defect. It's an invisible brain regulation delay and deficit in brain chemicals that no one seems to want to acknowledge. It's not just in kids. It's not just in one race or culture. I grew up in a foster home with a wonderful foster parents. My foster father died when I was beginning middle school, Halloween night, but I still had my mother. 3 months into my senior year in high school, we were living in Florida, I came home to find an ambulance in front of my house. I immediately knew something was wrong with my mom because she was an older foster parent. I ran in the house to see what was wrong, and I see her strapped to the gurney, and they're rushing her out to the ambulance. So I run out to the ambulance with them, try to get in, and they're like, "No, you can't ride in the ambulance, you're a minor." I was like, "You're taking my mom away, I'm going." And as I sat in the front of that ambulance, I thought to myself, she's going to be okay. She's going to be okay. I know she has some health problems, but she's going to be okay. And she's going to come home, and she's going to help me finish my senior year in high school. And she's going to help me get ready for graduation. And she's just now letting me start to see boys and talk to boys. And I had been nominated to be a debutante, so she's definitely got to help me to go through that process and get ready for the contest and learn to dance and all of that stuff that it takes to be a part of a debutante, the ball and all of that. I was really excited about this senior year. We get to the hospital, and They go to the back and work on her for a few minutes, and they come back out and tell me that my mom is dead. They told me that she's dead, and my whole world just exploded in that moment. I said, no, God, this can't be happening. This can't be happening, because she's got to be there for me to, she's got to be there to help me with the debutante ball. She's got to be there to see me walk across the stage and get my diploma. She's got to be there. Someone has to be there to see that I made it, that I'm not a complete failure, that I'm not stupid. I graduated. I did it. That one moment changed my entire life forever. My home life was never the same. School was never the same. College, work, everything was so different. And it wasn't until I got to my 40s, actually my late 30s, I had my son at 36, when I really started to realize something was really going on with me that I couldn't ignore anymore. And it became more prominent in my 40s, and even more so in my 50s, till I just couldn't ignore it anymore. Because I was really failing at work. I was fighting like hell for my son, but I was really struggling with my own self. And even when I got that diagnosis, I still didn't do anything about it, because I was still so focused on him. I had to get him graduated. I had to get him to the finish line like I did. So I had to change my whole mindset. And once he graduated, I had to start focusing on me. What am I going to do about me? I fought for him. What am I going to do now to fight for myself? To help myself. There are ways that we can help get ourselves through the day to kind of quiet those symptoms. And they're not all bad. We have good signs and symptoms of ADHD. We just got to plug into those and make them work to the best of our ability. Shine with those. We can be impulsive, but sometimes that's what helps us to think outside the box and come up with some of the best ideas. But we have to be able to face the fact that there's something going on. I have 5 A's that get me through. I had to first acknowledge that there was something going on, something that didn't feel right all through my life, every single day. I had to go and get an assessment. That's when I found out that there were 7 types of ADHD and that I had 3. And that ADHD can be misdiagnosed as just anxiety disorder, bipolar, or depression. And it can be completely missed for years in females. I had to accept the diagnosis once I got it. Sit with it. Deal with it. I had to take action. Either get therapy, take medication, do exercise, meditation. Well, meditation's hard for us because it's hard to focus and stay still and stuff, so. But I had to figure out what works for me. And lastly, affirm. I had to surround myself with positive affirmations and positive talk, because the negative talk was just too much, and I had to reset my mind and know that God's got me, that God doesn't make mistakes. So I have redefined ADHD for myself to mean awesomely effective, distinctly delayed, highly gifted and divinely different. Thank you for your time.